Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We've got a proper rock star with us today, with the one and everything about this guy's rock and roll. His hair, his looks, his music, how he plays guitar for sure. His guitars, he's got like 2 beat up old Les Pauls. I mean, I'm sure he's got a shit ton of guitars, which we'll talk about. But everything about Mitch Perry is rock and roll. So a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll get into it. I want to thank our mutual friend, Ed Roth, keyboard player of the Stars, for hooking us up. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe, and you can subscribe to the audio and the video of the show. All right, let's talk about Mitch Perry. Born in London originally, started singing with the school choir. He wanted to be initially a race car driver like his dad. He relocated to Davie, Florida, which is just outside of Fort Lauderdale. And at that point, he became obsessed with guitar and music. At 16, after a near perfect score in the SATs. Dude, what did you score in the SATs?
I have no idea. I don't know where that came from.
This is folklore.
Well, no, they did tell me I had high scores and that I didn't need to stick around in high school. So they gave me my GED and I was out of there.
There you go. Yeah, it says here that you convinced your parents to let you take the GED and leave school behind. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that conversation. I'm sure it wasn't as easy as convincing. Shortly after that, Mitch began playing with local bands all over South Florida. At 18, on Pat Thrall's recommendation, Pat, of course, was Pat Travers, guitar player, Santana's bassist Alfonso Johnson flew Mitch to L.A. to record a record. In the following years, Mitch wound up playing with everyone from Michael Schenker, Edgar Winter, Cher, Lita Ford, David Lee Roth, and then he recorded with Glenn Hughes, Talas, that's a New York band, right? Upstate, Buffalo, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Faster, Pussycat, Keel, Frankie Miller, Heaven, and Graham Nash. Wow, that's like one of those things is not like the others, to name but a few. And you might know Mitch best from Heaven's recording of MTV favorite song, Knocking on Heaven's Door. He's featured on more than 60 albums, including Aerosmith's Classics Live, where he actually plays keyboards. Mitch has a new album coming out in the springtime here called Music Box by the Mitch Perry Group. The album features drummer Tal Bergman, bass player Dan McNay, who also played in Montrose and is currently touring with Great White, and the aforementioned keyboardist Ed Roth, whose resume includes Annie Lennox, the Brothers Johnson, Glenn Hughes, Montrose, and Robbie Krieger. Mitch was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Producer's Choice Awards in March 2017, and he's currently performing regularly with Sweet and playing with local musicians and jam bands in LA. He's got a standing gig for those of you in California. He's got a standing gig every Sunday at the Standing Room in Hermosa Beach. Where is that? Is that like LA or
just south of the airport? Right, it's called the South Bay. In LA, and it's right there by Hermosa Pier.
Very cool. So there you go, all you LA cats, come check out Mitch. Dude, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Looking forward to this.
I watched a bunch of videos. I love watching you play guitar because you make it look so, I know it's not obviously, but you make it look, what you do is so easy, and you're like really having a good time up there. That comes across loud and clear.
I mean, that's, especially these days, that's the only reason to play.
Yeah.
That's how you should feel, because hopefully you're making other people feel that way. And you can't do that unless you're there.
Yeah. Well, it really shows, man, to be honest with you. All right. So your parents are American, but you were born in London.
No, I don't know where that's a little bit of
okay.
misinfo. I was born in New York.
Okay.
And the first 10 years of my life, I lived in New York. My dad raced cars, and we moved to London in 1971.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's about all I wanted to do at that point was race cars. And I ended up picking up a guitar when we were in London and jamming along with 10cc on top of the Pops.
I'm not in love.
Well, this was way before that. Rubber bullets. But I mean, it's funny. Like, there I was 10 years old. I remember, here I am touring with Steve Priest and Sweet now. You know, I remember moving to London in 1971, seeing Sweet on TV on Top of the Pops and calling my parents into the room to see the Freaks.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
Where in New York did you grow up?
Hewlett.
Where is that? Is
Yeah,
upstate?
in 5 towns.
Oh, Long Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I could ride my bike to JFK.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is, man. Okay, so then you moved back to Florida, or you moved to Florida?
We moved when my dad decided to retire from racing. We moved to Florida in late 73, and that's when I started getting serious, you know, about playing guitar. It consumed me, and that's all I did for the next 5 years.
And how did you convince? Well, 2 questions. How did you convince your parents to let you get out of school? And the second question is,
well, here's the thing.
Okay,
I was in London for 3 years, and I went to Westminster City, which was one of the best prep schools you could go to. The classes I was taking, there were French, Latin, algebra, chemistry, religious education.
Wow.
I came back. You know, when I came back to Florida, which I think was ranked 52nd out of the 50
horrible.
States,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they skipped me a year right away, and then I got skipped the second year. So I was in advanced classes, and I was already, like, you know, way young. And it got to a point where my interest in school became zero.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, and we went through, you know, I managed to be able to ace the tests, but I never was sticking around for any of the classwork.
Sure.
You know, here's a funny music-related story about school there. You know, this is Davie, Florida, South Florida. Well, I had a photography teacher who...
I want to talk to you about the Bose S1, which is an amazing speaker for acoustic guitars that I've been playing lately. The S1 has 2 separate channels. It has one for your guitar and then another one for a microphone. And then there's a third channel you can use for a looper or for backing tracks that you could access by Bluetooth or through a 1/8 inch plug. And the S1s are also very easy to carry. It's got an easy to grab top handle and absolutely anyone can tote it around. And it's also rechargeable for up to 11 hours. The S1 was specifically designed to optimize the sound of your acoustic guitar on acoustic guitar gigs. The guitar and mic channels each have separate tone, volume, and reverb controls, and there's also a proprietary tone match switch which restores and optimizes the natural sound of your acoustic guitar, which, as you know, is typically the biggest problem with acoustic amps. Now, I tested the S1 myself, and the tone, volume, and reverb controls sound great, and they're very responsive. You can position the S1 in 4 different ways. You can tilt it back so you broadcast out to an audience, or you could put it horizontally, vertically, or on a stand. And the cool thing is the S1 has a Bose accelerometer, so it automatically adjusts the EQ and optimizes the sound for whichever one of these 4 positions you're using. The S1 also happens to be the best Bluetooth speaker that Bose makes, which is pretty compelling since Bose is known for the quality of their Bluetooth speakers. So effectively, you have an acoustic guitar amp, a PA, and a killer Bluetooth speaker all in one. And the bottom line is this. If you're an acoustic guitar player, there's absolutely nothing out there that sounds this good and this big that's also easy to carry and battery powered. As far as the Bluetooth speaker goes, I've used it many times here at home for family barbecues, and the sound is so good, my kids wind up arguing over who gets to play the music they want. You know, it's literally like having a full stereo system out on your patio. You can use the S1 for DJing, tailgating, or whatever you want. Before this, you'd have to spend a bunch of money on loads of different speakers and pedals to get the same thing the S1 does on its own. On top of that, it looks great just like all Bose devices do. And besides whatever money back guarantee you get from wherever you buy the S1, Bose also warranties the S1 for 2 years for any kind of defects in materials or performance. For more information and to find out where to get your own S1, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/S1. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/S1. Get the S1. It's outstanding. Did you know if your guitar, bass, pedals, or any of your music gear is damaged, broken, or stolen outside your home, your homeowner's insurance policy will not provide coverage for any of it? That's right. Homeowner's insurance only pays if something happens inside your home and if the items are not used for business purposes. But Music Pro Insurance insures all your music gear no matter where it is, anywhere in the world, even when you check it in as baggage on an airline. Here, let me give you some actual examples of coverage they've provided. You're in a car accident and your equipment is damaged, boom, you're covered. Your kid pours apple juice into your amplifier, covered. Someone accidentally spills beer all over your pedal board at a gig, covered. In fact, any kind of theft or accidental damage is covered, even water damage from hurricane and breakage from earthquakes. But here's what makes Music Pro really different. They're not going to argue with you over the value of your instrument or make you run around looking for receipts when it comes to paying your claim. They know exactly why your vintage instrument is worth 10 times more than a new one. Plus, all claims are typically paid and fully settled in 24 to 48 hours. So if your equipment is not insured properly, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Music Pro. Hit standard and then enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. Don't be that musician who ignores this and then next month when something happens, you're wondering why you didn't take 10 minutes to do this properly. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Music Pro, enter your information and get a free gear protection estimate. This way, when something happens, you won't lose a minute of sleep because you took care of this already. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the Tampa Bay area without having to deal with pushy realtors? Then make sure you connect with West Florida Real Estate. West Florida Real Estate has helped over 300 homeowners and investors buy and sell their properties over the last 5 years. Their service is outstanding, just like back in the days when there was actually service in the service business, and you'll never have to deal with any kind of sales junk when you're working with them. For more information, email Ann with an E at westfloridarealestate.com. That's ANNE at westfloridarealestate.com. If you're enjoying this show and you'd like to support it, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. And for information on advertising, visit everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise.
Really took an interest in my guitar playing. He was a trumpet player who played in a band called the Ocean Liners. The Ocean Liners went on to become Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Holy shit.
Okay, so he liked the way I
Wow.
played guitar. He would write me passes. I could skip any class, and he'd let me hang out in the dark room and practice guitar.
Oh my God, how cool is that?
Yeah, so, so these things were going on, and my parents were having meetings with the guidance counselor. And I was lucky that I had a real cool guidance counselor who said to them, look, his SAT scores are so high, he'll be able to get into any college that he wants when he decides it's time. So let him just get a GED now, and,
And that was fine. Yeah, that makes sense.
And my parents were really cool parents. I mean,
Yeah.
To this day, I mean, all through the 80s, I mean, they're calling me up for passes to Black Sabbath. And so,
that's wild. Hey, how far west did Davy go at that time? Because
we were as far west. I mean, there was nothing except swampland on the other side of 27. You had Sunshine Ranches, which was a little bit further out, and there wasn't much past that.
Wow.
Not that civilized people lived in anyway.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's wild, man. So that was pretty cool. Like, so the whole situation was like the universe was kind of supporting you with all these different people, like encouraging you to do music.
Oh yeah, man, my life, sometimes when I tell people all the stories and people who I've been around and involved with, I mean, I feel like I'm a real life Forrest Gump, you know, and there's so and so, you know, and there's Mitch's face in the background. But I've been really, really fortunate to always be in an area where you know, cool things are going on. I mean, you know, the situation that I lucked into in Florida. I mean, I had no game plan to play music. I mean, yes, I decided I liked playing guitar, and I had a knack for it, and I didn't put it down. But that was as far as my thought process went. I didn't consider, you know, career opportunities.
Yeah.
You know. And then, you know, by the time I was getting to the GED phase, I was realizing I could live in a band house and have a great time. And back then you could make a living and you support yourself playing top 40. Now,
especially in the Miami, South Florida area, there's a ton. Yeah.
Well, if you know that whole thing, there was a lady named Sheila Whitkin. She ran an agency called, appropriately enough, The Agency, but they had a monopoly on everything rock and roll down there. And she managed the biggest band of the area at the time, Tight Squeeze. You know, and their guitar player, Kaz Candler, went on to join the Romantics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So anyway, they had this house. And her son had a friend, Bino, who played drums. And her son was 14, Bino was 16, and I was 15. And anyway, I had played in a battle of the bands somewhere, you know, in Coconut Grove, and Tight Squeeze was in it. We didn't, you know, even make the finals, but I think the people in Tight Squeeze noticed me and my age and went, there's the guitar player for Bruce and Bino's band. So I'm hitchhiking to the beach one day.
It's so typical Florida.
These two kids pick me up in a Volkswagen. We start talking. It turns out they're Bruce and Bino. They figure out I'm the guitar player that, you know, they'd heard about. Instead of going to the beach, we go to their house, and I end up moving in, and we put a band together called The Kids. We started playing locally, and Tight Squeeze opened up their own club. We were the house band along with Tight Squeeze there. And I mean, in the summer of '79, the amount of people who came through there, I mean, we had Black Sabbath recording Highway to Hell at Criteria. They were in the club all the time. AC/DC doing Highway to Hell at Criteria. They were in the club all the time. You know, we had Ted Nugent come through there. We had Steven Tyler come through there. We had Pat Travers in the club all the time because he was doing all his recording at Quad Radial. I mean, it was an insane, you know, Mike Panera as well lived down there, and George Terry, who played in Eric Clapton's band and all those Killer Bee Gee recordings. You know, all these guys were in at this club, and it was the luckiest scene to have, you know, to be able to grow up and learn how to play in an environment like that where there's just music 24/7. It was absolutely lucky.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
What from a maturity standpoint, you were so young, man. Wasn't that overwhelming? Like just everything?
You know, I mean, it's funny. At the time, no. You know, at the time you're young and you probably don't know better.
Right.
I mean, it's funny. When Alfonso flew me out to LA to record with him, you got to realize he was a bass player in Weather Report. You know?
Yeah.
Jocko replaced Alfonso, you know, and so I haven't even recorded myself on a cassette recorder, and here I am in the recording studio with him. You know, it was really trial by fire, you know, baptism by fire.
Yeah.
I was learning, but I at the time, I was either too excited or not smart enough to be really overwhelmed by it. In hindsight, I wish I'd known more at the time, because I would have taken so much more advantage of so many of the situations I was in. I mean, with hindsight being 2020, I can see so many things that I would have done that I didn't even have a clue to do back then.
Yeah, of course. Well, you're so young. I mean, I mean, really young, incredibly young.
Yeah.
I'm going to name some artists that you've worked with, Mitch. If you could talk about how you first connected with them or how you got the gig, and any kind of interesting or cool story about working with them. Let's start with Michael Schenker.
Absolutely great story. Okay, first off, important to know, once I decided I wanted to be a rock guitar player, my two heroes basically became Jimmy Page and Michael Schenker.
Yeah.
I loved Michael's tone and his feel and his style. I mean,
he was so unique. He was so unique, man. I mean, he really was. Really was.
Well, let's fast forward a whole bunch of years, and I'm signed to Lieber and Krebs management with the band Heaven. Michael was signed to Lieber and Krebs as well at the time. And so Michael, this is funny, this is when Michael was not behaving well.
That was a long period of time from what I understand.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know who the genius was who came up with the idea of putting him at the record plant in Times Square. It was Heaven, but it was our job to watch him one day, and it was cool because I got to hang out with him, and it was neat to meet one of my idols.
Yeah.
Anyway, fast forward about 3 years later, and I've left Heaven. I'm out in LA, and I'm hanging out with Pete Way at the Oakwood Apartments,
from UFO.
Yeah. And he's got a band called Wasted, and I'm talking about joining them, and so I'm literally in the swimming pool, and Michael shows up, and he hears I'm in the swimming pool, and he comes up, he says, "Oh, Mitchy, what are you doing?" And
you do the accent pretty good, pretty well.
So, but he knew that I played keyboards because he was there when we were recording "Knocking on Heaven's Door," and I played the keyboards on that.
Where did you learn how to play keyboards?
I had a piano around the house, so I just banged on stuff myself.
One question, just to take you off along the same lines. You were 100% self-taught on guitar.
Yeah.
Where did you learn your theory?
Books and just, so just teaching myself stuff out of how-to books after. It's like all this stuff looked like hieroglyphics, and then I'd put it together and go, oh, that's all it is.
So you're like one of these rare people, you have left and right brain kicking, because usually you don't have both.
Say sometimes I don't have both either.
I hear you. Don't we all? But you know what I'm saying? It's tough. The same discipline, and look, if you did really well on the SATs, you're certainly not a dummy. You're very bright. So you just took that you just took that skill set and that discipline, and you applied it to music, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Very cool.
But we got to jump back to this.
Yeah, sorry about
Michael thing. The Michael thing. So, long story short, he says, we're looking for a guitar player, keyboard player. Would you want to do it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to play rhythm guitar all night. And he had seen me do all.
Good for you to say that, man.
Hmm?
Good for you to say that. A lot of people would have been like, oh my God, yeah. But that's
well, I mean, yeah, I mean.
No, seriously, that took that.
Yeah.
I think that took some courage and confidence in your ability, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I also, it wasn't. It was weird. I mean, I didn't really think too much of it at the time. I mean,
Right.
So I suppose I was a little bit more cavalier with it, but he was serious, so serious, in fact. When I said that, he goes, no, the way you do all this tapping and stuff that I don't do, he says, but I think people want to hear that. He says, so if you come in and do some of that and don't sound like me, I think could work.
Oh, so he was willing to give you lead duties.
So at that point, my eyebrow gets raised. He goes, I have a solo that you will sound great on. He goes, you want to come play on it? I go, yeah, when? He goes, what are you doing now? I go, swimming. He goes, well, you have a guitar? Hey, there's one upstairs. He goes, well, go get it and come to the studio with me. I go upstairs, dry off, grab the guitar, and get in the car with Michael. We go over to Sound City, where Robin McCauley and Andy Johns and Olaf Schroeder, the German manager for the Scorpions and MSG, they're all at the studio waiting for Michael. And,
oh my God.
Not one of them knows of me or who I am.
Oh yeah, so this has got to be weird.
So Michael waltzes in and says, hey everybody, this is Mitch. He's going to try the solo on Give Me Your Love.
Holy crap.
Can you imagine? And so, they take him out of the room, and I'm sitting there by myself for about half an hour going, oh, well, it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah.
But no, they came out. We hit record. It went well, and that's the soul you hear on Give Me Your Love.
That is so cool. Did they not act like dicks once they came back in as much as possible?
Yeah, well, no, Olaf was always a dick.
Yeah, but like
no, Michael and Robin and Andy, yeah, that was a treat. I was really lucky to get to work with people like that.
That's really cool. Was it that one project and that was it, or was there anything? Was there more? Did you tour behind that or anything?
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, dude, this was the best time in the world to be a part of that band. For the whole year of 1988, we were touring, and we were out with one of three bands. We were either out on the road with Def Leppard, we're either out on the road with Whitesnake, or we're either out on the road with Rush. So
wow, that doesn't suck.
Yeah, it was touring like the biggest shows at the time with the biggest bands, and funnily enough, even as big as Def Leppard was, when we went to Europe with MSG and Def Leppard, Michael pulled a lot of people there as Def Leppard did. So
I had Phil on the show, Phil Collins from Def Leppard. Was he sober then, or?
No.
Oh, okay. So it was different. It was a different Phil Collins.
None of us were. Yeah. It's so funny because I toured with them, like I said, that was 87 and 88. And then in 2012, I went back out on the road with them because I was with Lita Ford. And we did Def Leppard, Poison, and Lita. And what a difference 25 years makes.
Oh yeah, man. They're having trainers. He's going to the gym in the day. Yeah. Drinking water and waking up at 5 a.m. doing kickboxing.
Backstage is not the same place.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Wow, that's great. Def Leppard, Whitesnake, and Rush. Holy crap, that is so cool. What did you get out of that tour? Like, is there any lessons, I don't necessarily musically, but like either business or performing or anything like that? Did you get anything out of that?
Yeah, out of the Leopard tour, for sure. It's where I learned to stop ever counting on a monitor.
Go ahead, elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're always waiting for our sound checks, and you when you did get them, you never seemed to get enough of one. And all it would allow you to do, you do enough to decide what you didn't like, and you could fixate on that until you played. I almost got into a thing where I preferred to not go out And you know, if I mean, all the instruments on stage are loud. You know, you should be able to hear everything.
Yeah.
And I like the feel of the stage better. I kind of got used to telling my monitor guy to turn everything off. At a real early age, I didn't like having, you know, a lot of people try and turn their monitor into a stereo speaker, and
Yeah, I
it's
could see
not a
that.
stereo system. You know what that's there for is, for me, is if I can't hear the kick, if I can't hear the hi-hat, put it in there. If I need a little bit more lead vocal, put it in there. If I'm singing, obviously put vocal in there.
Right.
But, put what I can't hear in there. All the stuff that's loud, we don't need to put in there.
Right. Interesting.
And I mean, not that I came to that conclusion at that point, but I remember I gave up on ever expecting to hear anything I wanted out of the monitors.
So you just learned to make do with what you could hear out of the speakers.
Yeah.
Were you, was that hard to do, like, initially? Like, did you ever get preoccupied from playing with listening to what was going on?
No, I mean, I think you have, if you really, the magic of music is when people are connected and doing that. And I think you have to be doing that. I mean, constantly and totally. That way you react to what's going on around you. And that's when you get that, that's when you get those magic bands. You go, hey, man, why does this one band sound so much better than the next band? They're all great players.
Yeah.
It's not the chops. You could learn for the next 20 years. It's not going to change the dynamics that are making one better than the other. What's the magic is how those people are reacting to each other.
Yeah, very much.
And the only way for that to happen is when you're tuned in.
Yeah.
So you better be able to do, I think that's part of, I draw a lot of analogies with racing, because I like racing. And
sure.
The thing is, you look at a race and you see the 33 cars in Indianapolis, and you think the guy tooling around, at the back is not a fast driver. That's not true. All of those guys can drive like a badass. But the ones who run up front are the ones who can drive like a badass, but have a whole lot of power, brain power left to be thinking about all the peripherals that are going to affect their race and where they've got to position their car. So now it's not a matter of, the faster guy being the faster guy. We know they're both fast. It's the smarter guy who's going to put his car in a better place. The guys who have a lot more room, for that thought are the ones who always consistently win, and I think it's the same thing in music. When you're playing, if you're having to think about what you're doing or concentrate on your stuff too hard, you can do it right. If you're having to sight read, you can do it right. But man, you lose the magic that's going to make your performance magic.
It's interesting. Do you think that, so in your opinion, most of the people that you've come across over your career musically that were successful, if I'm understanding what you're saying right, and I agree with you actually, not just in music, I think in everything. Do you think most of the people that you've met that were successful also tended to be a little smarter?
Listen, I got to be careful about how I answer that. Because
right, and I'm not I
can't.
Yeah,
there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, right.
To what's there's things that people
sometimes really stupid people get really lucky because they're in the right place at the right.
And sometimes is an underestimate.
No, I hear you. I totally get it. But I think it's like that with everything for the most part. Even in business, it's the same thing. The guys who have a little more wherewithal to look at the periphery and see the whole picture tend to get ahead. But it's the same thing. Then you got some guys like they can't even chew gum and walk at the same time.
I can give you a perfect example. This is a funny story. But, Nikki Six came up to me at like either the end of 1980 or beginning of 1981. And back in that time, I was wearing the colored Sassans and the Capesios. My hair's halfway down my waist, and I got the colored shirts tied at the waist, Robert Plant style, So Nikki comes up to me and says, "Man, I just quit London. And because I've got this new band, it's going to rule the world." Oh, no, he's going to ask me to play guitar. And he's like, "Do you know a singer?" He says, "Do you know?" He goes, "We're looking for a singer." I go, "Oh, I don't know anyone." He goes, "No." He goes, "Do you want to try singing?" I'm going, "No, I don't sing." He goes, "Well, do you want to just come down and try?" "Yeah, I'm a guitar player." He goes, "Yeah, you're a great guitar player, but he goes, we got a guitar player." Says, "We need a singer." He goes, "You got a great image, you got great hair. Just come down, take a singing lesson, try a rehearsal." No, "Nah, dude, I play guitar."
Yeah.
And I laughed for a long time about the fact that the music didn't even enter into it.
Yeah.
It didn't. I used to laugh at that.
Yeah.
However, now with hindsight being 2020, I go, who knew what they were doing back then? And sure as fuck wasn't me.
Yeah. Right.
He had a clear vision, even though I used to laugh at that at the time. He knew exactly what he was doing. So,
Interesting.
to answer your question, yeah, he saw it.
Yeah.
On a different scale, but one that for me probably didn't even really include the music. It was more the attitude of the music than the actual.
Yeah. Like he wasn't your hair, your look. Yeah. That's interesting. But he had a vision of putting all this together that obviously worked really well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like I said, at the time, I didn't even have a clue. I just saw, So, there's a lot of other things going on besides being that magical player, or a musician that can contribute to who was successful and who wasn't.
Definitely, man. Let's talk about somebody else. Edgar Winter. How'd you get connected with Edgar?
Well, first off, I was a huge Edgar Winter fan.
Yeah.
And in 1994, Carmine Appice and Tony Franklin called me up to do a tour of Japan. It was going to be a Blue Murder tour.
Right.
And then they had their falling out with John. There was a singer.
So they wanted you to basically take John Sykes' place.
Basically, yeah. And they had a singer, Kelly Keeling, who was going to sing instead of John. So we went to Japan and basically did this tour. And it was a great tour to do because, it's like we called it Super Rock Session. We did a ton of Beck.
Super Rock Session. That's cool. It's like, is that from Super Sessions, right?
Yeah. This
that's
was
cool.
Carmine. He always had a cool angle for this stuff. And so, we did did some of the stuff. If I had a solo album out at the time in Japan, an instrumental, we did stuff from there. We did BBA stuff. We did murder stuff. We did a couple of songs from The Firm, and it was just.
So that's a great. The whole thing sounded great.
Oh, it was a blast. I've got cassette tapes of we only did like 3 rehearsals and then went over and did this. And I've got rehearsal tapes that are just, put them on. I'm like, this band is pretty damn good.
Yeah, so, but the three of you talk about talent, man. That's like a lot of talent there, man. You, Carmine, and Tony Franklin.
And it was funny while we were there, Carmine's talking about going out on the road with Edgar when he gets home. And I'm like, man, Edgar's one of my heroes. If you ever need a guitar player, tell him to call me. And literally half a week into the tour, they called me because the guitar player had some personal stuff go on. And I literally got a tape of the show. They taped Wednesday night show or Tuesday night show, FedExed it out to me Wednesday. I got it Thursday and listened to it on the plane to play the show Thursday night.
Holy crap.
And I didn't leave for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is, what a great story that is.
Yeah, no, I love playing with Edgar, and musically is the best finishing school.
He's so bright as a musician, man. Ranger, everything.
Nothing he doesn't understand or get. And, every time, the entire time I was there, I don't think we rehearsed, but 3 or 4 times, but we managed to do, 3 records and, just all sorts of shows. And,
that's wild, man.
We never ever had things worked out. It was always spontaneous. And that was a great thing. There were no, parameters, the only rules were be good, but we basically played the stuff the way we wanted to play it. And Edgar just wanted it to be good. And,
you probably got to play with loads of other people there, because I know he's always had like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to work with Leon Russell, with Dr. John, Eddie Money, Rick Derringer, a whole lot. We did a few White Trash reunions. I was there even the one time he got back together with Jerry LaCroix. Like I said, I couldn't have asked for a better person to learn how to play music from.
That's great. I've had a lot of Leon's guitar players over the years on the show, and they all said he is just the nicest human being ever.
Yeah. He was good. It's so funny is when we first went out with Leon when I was in the band, his son Teddy was playing drums with him. And Teddy comes up to me and he's all like, "Man, you're from MSG. You played in MSG." He's like tripping that I played with Schenker. I'm like, "Dude, your dad's Leon Russell. What the fuck are you?"
Yeah, right on. Who was playing guitar for Leon when you were touring with him? Do you remember?
I don't.
Was it Bob Britt, if you remember?
I could not tell you.
Very cool story. David Lee Roth. I didn't realize you played with David Lee Roth.
Yeah, well, never publicly. I don't know how that got into the thing, but yeah, I actually got hired to replace Steve Vai when Steve left. But I was only there for a very short while. I don't have a really good poker face.
Yeah, I hear you.
and so, we're working on some material that wasn't written by Dave. It was written by some outside writers. And let's just put it this way. If you thought Paradise, was kind of departing from the Van Halen, the hard rock.
Yeah.
I mean, that was heavy guitar rock compared to the stuff we were working on.
Oh, so it was more like just a gigolo kind of thing.
Yeah, except not even as cool. These songs were garbage.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And so, like I said, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to say anything, but my face.
Yeah, he knew you were not happy camper.
Yeah, and so he starts, he's asking me what I think, and, he's a good interrogator. He finally got what I thought out of me, and that was that.
Yeah, that's weird. What do you think? You don't like it? Okay, you don't fit. Okay, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Not the first person that makes decisions like that.
Well,
But
no, I mean, you know, I think I got comfortable and was a little over exuberant. Now I told him that the
yeah,
songs weren't that great.
yeah.
But you know, long story short, they replaced me with another guitar player who was with them for 7 months. They got Bob Ezrin in, and Ezrin said, "Okay, I'll produce the record, but the guitar player has to go, and you have to come up with different material."
Oh, funny enough.
Yeah, and so you know, uh, I did get a call back to come back, and but it was really obvious. Ezrin had brought Jason Becker
Right.
in, and it was obvious that Bob was being courteous and watching me. You know, he'd already made the decision that Jason was going to play, which I'm
Yeah.
glad he did.
Yeah.
You know, with
Oh,
that
so
wonderful thing is hindsight.
was that the iteration with the Bissonette with Matt and Greg?
Yeah. Yep.
Those guys, I had both those guys. Those guys are so nice, man.
They're the best. It was funny.
The nicest guys.
I had a conversation with Matt about it a long time afterwards. He's like, he goes, "Yeah, man, we couldn't believe you said that." He goes, "We were all thinking it, but we weren't going to say it."
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, Matt's such a good guy. I have remained buddies with Matt. We talk, once a month or so. He's such a nice guy. Oh,
Well, man, please tell him I said hello.
Man, I will. I definitely will. That's so funny. And this one of these things is not like the others. Graham Nash, who's a great musician, but just totally out of context with these other guys.
And once again, we could go back to the thing where I was saying, I wish I was mentally equipped to learn more at the time than I did, because I really was very fortunate. My roommate at the time was someone I knew from Florida. He was a staff engineer at Criteria, and then Tom Dowd took him under his wing, and he ended up doing all like the Allman Brothers and Kenny Loggins and all the stuff that Tom Dowd did. He was the main engineer, Steve Gursky.
Unreal.
Anyway, he was my roommate out here while he was co-producing Crosby, Stills, Nash, their Daylight Again record. So I wound up around that camp quite a lot, just hanging out and whatnot. And when Graham was doing a song for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, they were in the studio. Steve was recording it, and they were not happy with the harmonica solo that Graham was doing. And they decided they wanted a guitar solo. They called me up, and I came down, and I got to play on Graham Nash's song at Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And, it's like, it's so funny. I'll never forget sitting around with him, and Graham was as gracious as could be. I mean, just, a wealth of information. Yeah, it was really
so talented, that guy. I mean, just incredibly talented musician, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, plus everybody who was on those sessions. I mean, you had Ian Wallace and Mike Finnegan, I mean, Kenny Passarelli. I mean, serious players.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was so lucky to be around these guys, because it's funny. I look at videos of myself playing when I was in Talas from 1983. The fingers move just as fast then as they do now. But I'm 3 trillion times a better musician now than I was then.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's obviously nothing about the fingers. But the funny thing is, all that stuff that, you think I've accumulated over the years, I don't think any of it wasn't told to me back then by those guys in that camp. Steve was a really, really wise, he was a great engineer, producer, but he knew music he could play as well. And I think everything that I understand or that I get that makes me a quality musician. They were telling me all this stuff back then, but hearing it and not really understanding it are two different things.
Yeah, man. That's the fucked up thing with life sometimes. Like, you realize something 20 years after that but it's not, but I always look at it, you know what? I couldn't, you can't do what you can't do at any given time. So I'm just grateful that I finally get the message at some point,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always like that. It is very much like that. Is there anybody you want to talk about, or any situation that was cool or interesting?
Oh,
You got no shortage of them, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, there have been so many amazing things. I mean, whether it's, playing Wembley on New Year's Eve with, the bill with Whitesnake and Brian May and Iron Maiden and all those people are all at the show. Or, I mean, when we did the Montreux Jazz Festival in '99 with Edgar, we opened up for B.B. King, and Johnny Lang opened up for us, and Gary Moore was there to play with B.B., and Rick Derringer was playing with us. These are, really, really cool things. One of my favorite records that I got to do was with a singer. I don't know, are you familiar with Frankie Miller?
No.
Oh, you'll want to check him out. He's Paul Rodgers' favorite singer. He's one of Bob Seger's favorite singers, Rod Stewart's favorite singers. Him and Paul Rodgers basically came up together, and they would trade off guitar players. They'd trade off Paul Kossoff and Mick Rels all the time.
Oh, who does he sound like, or what hits?
He sounds like, Paul Rodgers sounds like Frankie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, I don't mean that as a disservice. I mean, Paul Rodgers is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I mean, it's not like when you hear Frankie, they came up together. It's like James Brown and Little Richard. They've been together since they were 13 and 14. It's not a mystery why they're both so great. They come from the same DNA, and it's the same thing with Frankie and Paul.
He's an English guy, Frankie Miller.
Oh, and the band, I mean, I was really lucky to get on the record. It was timing again, because John Jansen, who produced Knocking on Heaven's Door, was producing Frankie's next record. And the band was Simon Kirke from Bad Company, Chrissy Stewart from Spooky Tooth, and Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy.
Wow.
And Brian was having one of his bad periods, and I ended up getting called to come in and play on a song, which became 2, 3, 4, 6 songs. But it's one of the coolest records.
What's the name of the record?
Dancing in the Rain.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely check it out.
Oh, yeah, it's a cool record. The song that I'm really proud of being on that record is Do It Till We Drop.
Thanks, man. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. Check. Anything Frankie does is usually it's worth a listen. He's great.
Talk about, I know you're really excited about your record coming out. You want to talk about that for a bit?
Oh, man. Yeah. I can't wait for this thing to come out. It's funny. I think everyone probably expects me to do an album that's, a Guitar Hero record. I love songs, and one of the things I miss is the great records that were made in the 70s, where you would put an album on and you'd listen to it like you watch a movie.
Oh, yeah, man.
That just has not happened in a long time. And, so I have a lot of material to choose from. A lot of this record, although most of it is new material, there's a couple of things that I pulled out of the archives. It's just, and I've got I've got a record that I just feel is really, really, really a throwback to those days when, I go, you listen to classic rock now, and the drag for me is none of it's new. It's
Yeah.
great. It's all wonderful, but none of it's new. And I feel like this record is that, but it's got songs of that quality. I was talking about this with David Krebs. I said, the problem is, if you want to do a new classic rock thing, you're not competing against all the bands at the same time. You're competing against Stairway to Heaven. You're competing against,
Bad Company.
You're competing against the best of the best from the best. So there's really no point in 90% of the bands that would do it doing it. But I think we've got a record with songs that, hold up to that kind of listening. The production is turned out. I'm really proud of it. And
where did you record? Did you record it like at a home studio? Or did you go to
No, we did it. Tal Bergman, our drummer, Tal from Billy Idol and Joe Bonamassa, he has a studio, which used to be Quincy Jones's studio. So it's quite a nice place, and we tracked all the stuff live there. One of the things we did on this record, absolutely no click track.
Awesome.
And whatever song you're hearing, the live band is playing. I mean, there was no, let's just get drums and then add bass.
Yeah.
It's like, even if we added production, it was to the live performance.
Awesome.
And so it's got that old feel, it's like, you can see people listen to it, and I think, you can tell they know something's there.
That's awesome, man.
You don't get in music that much, or at least I don't that much. People, Pro Tools is like a drug. It's a wonderful thing. It's like a wonderful thing if you use it to cure, your cold. But unfortunately, like most drugs, it gets abused.
Yeah, the solution to your problem becomes your problem.
Yes. I'm really proud of this record.
It's awesome.
I went out of my way to not fix things that, my mind's going, oh, you could, I want it to be real. And I think we got that.
Did Tal engineer it?
No, we have, a couple of different guys were involved, but the main guy who's also mixing the record with me, Yossi Shaked, great engineer. We, like I said, did all the tracks and few dubs at Tal's. And then we moved over to his place, which I call the Love Shack, but we did a bunch of overdubs there and mixed there. And we also used a friend of mine, Shane Shalosky. We used his studio to do a lot of tracking of the guitars.
Very cool, man. Well, I look forward to hearing it. And it's called Music Box, and Mitch is going to come back on the show once the record drops, so we'll all get to talk about it. What were some of the low points for you or darker periods you've had to deal with, and how did you get through them?
Oh, well, here's the thing. As far as it being a low point, I would say after I quit Edgar's band, there was no one I really wanted to play for. There's no one I really want, there's no one I wanted to start a band with. And I didn't like the direction music was going, there's nothing that held my interest. So fortunately, I still love race cars, and along the way, I'd ended up going. Here's a funny story. when I played with Cher, I bought myself a Celine Mustang, and I lost my license within 2 weeks of having the car.
Oh my God.
And so my dad, who had always, he didn't want to ever hear about me getting into a race car. He finally suggests I should go to racing school and find out I'm not the hot shit I think I am before I kill myself on the road. And so I do. And I went up to the Jim Russell School at Laguna Seca. They have a year-end runoffs every year and pick their 3 best, students and run a race team, put them on a race team and pay for them to race. And that's what happened to me. I was 31 and I got picked to be in, I got a scholarship from the Jim Russell School and ended up spending a lot of that year racing a car the next year. And always kept my hand in that. And when I left Edgar's band, I just basically started teaching race car driving.
Wow.
Yeah, and just I taught at Skip Barber for a while, and I taught at Dale Jarrett's school, and then a company that my friend Kelly Bussey ran, the Racing Experience. And, I did that pretty much up until about 2008, 2009. And then I got so busy playing music again. I'd started doing that about 3 or 4 years after I started teaching the race cars. I mean, I'd always kept playing. I just wasn't doing it professionally.
Sure.
So.
Wow. So when did you leave Edgar's?
That would have been April of 2001.
Okay. So you took like 8 years and put it
Well, no, basically, okay, in 2002, I did some dates with X, Y, and Z and Bullet Boys. In 2003, I went to Tahiti for this one gig. That's the only time I did anything. And then 2004 and 2005, I really didn't do a whole lot of anything, but I started doing sessions in 2005. That led to me joining Asia again in 2000. It was John Payne's Asia. I did that in 2008, and I did that until 2010. Then I took on Lita. I did Lita from 2010 to 2015. Okay. And Sweet since then.
So it was really kind of a part-time thing. You kind of did have your hand in music on and off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, listen, I'll be a musician until the day I die. Even if I'm not touring, I'll be playing somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I said, my favorite 4 hours of any week are what we do on Sundays at the Standing Room.
Yeah.
I'll give you an idea how we start the day off is always an impromptu jam, right? Let's write a song on the spot.
Okay.
And that way it makes everybody's ears tune in and we're playing together. And by the time we go to songs that we know, it's like the band is dialed in.
Yeah.
And we don't ever play anything the same way twice. I mean, we'll make up stuff as we go. It depends.
Very cool. It's good. I like that idea. You do an impromptu jam to get dialed in together. That's really smart.
Oh, it makes everybody listen.
Yeah.
Because they can't rely on I know where it's going and have their mind somewhere else. They have to stay tuned because they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, that's really smart. Where did you come up with that? That's a great idea, actually.
By accident. Just did it because I was feeling something one time, and then everyone started doing that, and I realized what happened. I went, okay, we're gonna refine this little exercise, and it is it's really cool because sometimes we'll be doing a song and I'll just get bored in the middle of the song and I'll just I have my little let's bring it down sign and we'll just stop in the key of whatever song we're playing in. We'll come up with a different part on the spot. You know, and everyone's dialed into listening to that. So, and everyone knows to go, there's the freedom to go and grab that stuff. You know, no one's worried about, oh, we got to play this 4 times and then go, you know.
Yeah, it's not like Blues Jam and A, or, you know, it's you got to, yeah, it's interesting. That's really smart, man. I think that's really clever to keep
But
people.
I mean, all of us are, you know, Ed's in the band, and Dickie and Dan are out with Great White, and I do my stuff. All of us are flying somewhere Saturday night, and we all still take the first flight home on Sunday so we can do
to get to the gig. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other 2 guitars round out your top 3?
Okay, this is the weirdest thing. I use a 1977 or 78. I bought it in March of 78, so I'm assuming it's a 77 Les Paul Pro. I bought it new off the shelf in 77. Once I got out to California, I stopped using it so much because Grover Jackson saw me play and gave me Charvels, and that was my first endorsement. Then when I was in MSG, well, actually when I was in Heaven, I moved to Guild guitars because I wanted something that no one else was
That's
using.
interesting. Yeah, that's not a normal, you don't see too many like hard rockers playing.
No, I saw that whacked out looking guitar, the Blade Runner that they had. And I just, you know, everybody had a hot rodded Strat at that point. I said, you know what? I'm just going to use that guitar because it's so different.
I have to look at that, the Guild Blade Runner.
Oh, you know what? Do you remember the weird guitar Joe Perry used in Walk This Way?
Not off the top of my head. He's had so many guitars, but that's it?
Yeah, he used the same guitar. And not only did he steal my name, he stole my guitar. But
okay, so hold on a second. That Les Paul Pro, that's the one with is that the black one with the P90s?
Yeah.
Okay, so that guitar is so beat up. It looks awesome. It's
all mine.
Now that's like right under where the pick guard would be. It's a massive chip of paint missing, right?
That is, I am human proof on why they put the pick guards there.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing is wild. So what happens when you hit that now? You just scraping the pick against wood, or?
Oh yeah, it's that, man. I'm digging that. That wood's a pit. I
mean,
you know, and the guitar weighs so much. I'm wondering if I'm eventually going to dig deep enough to find Jimmy Hoffa's body.
Yeah, yeah, that's a heavy guitar. Those old Les Paul. That's wild, man.
I got a funny story about that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, Again, this was in '99. We were touring with the original Grand Funk. I mean, all 4 guys. You know,
oh, wow.
Even Craig on keyboards. And I couldn't wait to show this guitar to Mark Farner. And I hand it to him, and he holds it for a 1/10 of a second and doesn't even try and play it. He hands it back. He says, here, take it back. He says, wait right here. I'm going to show you what I play. And he comes back in, and he has a Parker. Now, I don't know if you've
the Parker Flies. Yeah.
They weigh, they feel like balsa wood.
Yes, they're like really light.
And remember, I have that poker face, and he sees the underwhelmed look in my face.
Yeah, they're not like attractive guitars at all, man. I mean, they look like sort of like something from the Jetsons or something.
Yeah, well, he sees that. He sees my underwhelmed look, and he goes, one day you'll understand.
Oh, because of the weight deal. Yeah.
And dude, I understand now.
Oh, I watch videos of you playing. I'm like, oh my God, that thing has got to weigh a ton.
That guitar weighs 12 pounds.
Holy shit. Yeah. Have you gotten like back pain over the years from that?
Oh yeah, dude, I've got wicked sciatic.
Oh my God, yeah, that's massive. 12 pounds.
That was a funny thing. When my friend started tour managing Mark a couple of years ago, I said, hey, do me a favor, please tell Mark I understand now.
I understand. Yeah.
15 years later.
Holy. So is the gold top Les Paul with the P90s, is that like your number 2?
Yeah.
Is that also a Les Paul Pro?
No, that's a 71 Deluxe, and I took my friend Jim Foote from Music Works had the same 77 P90s that are in my Black Paul, so I figured, why the heck not?
Yeah.
So I changed that. That's a great feeling guitar too. But it's really funny. I still use my black guitar almost exclusively, just because it's become like a glove.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the thing is with that guitar, a lot of Les Pauls, they sound great, but they don't have the range of tone that I'd like to get. With the P90s, I do get that. And, I don't find too much stuff that I can't pull off with that guitar. So.
Are you usually on the bridge pickup with that thing?
It depends what I'm doing. One thing I do with that guitar is I work the tones a lot more than,
yeah,
most people do. My sound is not as processed either. I mean, I've gone the gamut where I had 16 space racks that weren't big enough.
Wow.
For all the effects I wanted to have, back to where give me a tube screamer and a wah and I'm happy.
Right. That's what you're doing now, mostly?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have a board just so I can travel easier, but it's got a tuner, a tube screamer, a wah, and some delay. And that's it.
What kind of wah do you use? Just curious.
It's a crybaby. Regular.
Old school. You're totally old school.
Yeah. Oh, man, think about it. Everything that's been built since then has been built to emulate what?
Yeah, versions of that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's never been bettered.
Yeah.
They got it right that time. And unfortunately, this is the funny thing. I mean, even at NAMM this year, I'm like going, there's no companies. Gibson hasn't built the guitars. I mean, I got to go check out the new things now, but.
Dude, do you know how much money they are, though?
None of the guitars that I played, a couple of years ago, I know everything's changed. But I went to Gibson to, work with them, and I just wouldn't have played any of the guitars.
Yeah.
There's no comparison between my Pro and what they have. And it's almost the same with the Marshall heads. I mean,
Is that what you play out of mostly Marshalls?
I use Marshall JCM 800s, and don't give me anything new. Don't give me the 2-channel Marshalls. It's got to, be a single channel Marshall. And as long as it was maintained right, you got a tone there.
Yeah. What would be number 3, your number 3 guitar?
Number 3 guitar? I mean, that would be any number of spats that I have, or I mean, it depends what the job is.
Yeah,
I'll pull the guitar out for that. But otherwise, I went. I play the Paul, and it feels like a piece of me. Now, I can't say that about a Strat. I can play it, but I am just way more comfortable on the Pro, and I find it easier to go off in that zone that I like to get in when I play.
Sure. So the Pro, the only thing with the thing that defines the Pro model, that is just the P90s.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it only has single binding. It's not double binding.
Okay.
On the body. It's funny though. I have a friend who bought a mint condition version of the same guitar. I mean, the numbers are almost the same.
Well, I mean the serial. It's like Okay.
It's a totally different guitar.
Wow, isn't that funny?
Yeah, I mean. I find that about everything, I mean, if a Les Paul is going to be a Les Paul and it's going to beat other guitars, but to find that guitar or to find that amp, you know, when you find that special one, you know, grab
No,
it.
I agree with you. That's why it's really hard to buy guitars online.
I don't see how people can do that.
It's really difficult. It's like a woman or whatever your flavor is, you know, it's, you got to have that
And you know
beyond.
how long those Russian wife deal was.
Yeah, it's got to go beyond looks. You got to have that, you know, that little thing, that chemistry kind of thing.
To me, it's like you can look at it, it can be what you envision. I mean, look, if somebody says to me, hey, Mitch, I got a 59
Burst.
Burst for you, I'm going to go, hell yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. But at the same time, Jim Foote had one in his store, you know, and says, hey, come play this $75,000 guitar. He says, you got to try it. I played it. I ain't trading my guitar for that guitar.
Yeah, I've heard that from, again, it goes to what feels good. Yeah, totally, man.
You know, I mean, it might, you know, I suppose if I wouldn't trade it, because if I had to give up my guitar, $75,000 couldn't buy me what I had with that Les Paul.
Oh, I hear you.
You know, so.
What's the best guitar? I'm assuming is your Les Paul Pro. What's the best amp you've ever owned or played?
I actually have it now. It's my '86 Marshall JCM 800. When you hear my record, I use pretty much this one amp for the entire record.
That's awesome, man.
And there's no, you know, it's the guitar into the amp. Pedals are not really a part of the equation on the album.
That's awesome.
This is all the different sounds and tones we got out of it. You know, it's pretty. I'm really proud of it.
You ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back, Mitch?
Oh, yes and no. I mean, I you know, it's funny. I wish I had my '68 Gold Top. That was the first guitar I ever sold. But at the same time, I wouldn't play it any more than I play it now.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the nostalgia is nice, but the guitar not necessarily. So yeah, I get that.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I have a lot of my old guitars, and they sit in their cases in the garage. You know, and there's, I mean, it's funny. I did some gigs with Bobby Blotzer's Rat, you know, a few years back, and so I didn't think the Les Paul was appropriate for that, and I pulled out a bunch of my old hot rod guitars from the '80s, and I went and had them all set up, and I put them right back into the cases and back in the closet and pulled out my Les Paul.
Good for you, man.
You know, I mean, it's what I am what I am. That's
man. I am. It's funny listening to you talk about, you know, you can't put, what's one thing you cannot do here is put your guitars in the garage, as you know. Here in Florida, man, that's like the fastest way to destroy anything, you know. Well, you can't put paper in the garage at times.
My parents moved from Florida to Vegas, and they were nice enough to bring my entire record collection with them.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Unfortunately, they stored it in the garage.
Oh, so everything warped.
Oh, my God. I got the biggest collection of scallop shells.
Oh, man. That's too bad. Speaking of records, what's the first record you ever bought, if you remember?
First record I purchased was Fragile by Yes.
Oh, okay.
My first record that I actually called my own record was a hand-me-down copy when my parents got a Magical Mystery Tour for a gift, and they already had it. I got my own copy, and I used to spend hours with my head buried in that 24-page booklet listening to that record when I was 7th grade.
Your parents sound very cool.
Oh, they were the best. I you know, I mean, they loved music, and I mean, I was around bands from the time I was 5 or 6, seeing live music
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, they were completely supportive in every way of all the musical stuff that I did. I mean, they've come out and seen pretty much every band up to and including Sweet that I play with.
That's great, man. That's like, believe it or not, that's the number one thing that successful musicians have in common. Their parents were supportive, probably 99+% of the situation. Even if the house had dysfunction in it or addiction or money problems, whatever, they were supportive of their child's career or their child's interest in music. It's really interesting.
I mean, when they first saw me getting, kind of getting proficient, they used to take me down to this bar called McGowan's on Hollywood Beach. If you know Hollywood Beach, yeah, where the Florida Bible College, it used to be called, right there. Yeah.
That all on that strip there.
Yeah. Well, you start walking up the Broad Walk. The first bar that had live music was McGowan's.
They used to take you there.
North of the college there. And I used to go to the Sunday jams in 1974 when Mickey Carroll would play. And I'd get up on stage and I'd play either Taxi by Harry Chapin or Miss American Pie by Don McLean.
Yeah, good songs.
Bring me there every week to go and jam.
That's really nice, man. That's very cool. Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs, knee-jerk reaction, and just for now, this minute.
Oh, knee-jerk reaction. Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody emailed me and they said, I love when your guests freely tell you the low points in their life, and then when you get to this question, they writhe in agony trying to come up with the top 3.
It's impossible. Let's see. What would be, man, Pet Sounds would be one.
Interesting. Great record. Didn't expect you to say that.
Well, I love that record. It's brilliant to me. Yeah. Humble Pie, need some Steve Marriott. So any Humble Pie, but Rockin's pretty fucking, man, that's badass. See, this is so weird. I mean, they're not the top 3, but you ask me at a given time, I know what's going to come to mind. Another one of my favorite records of all time, Jay Giles' Full House Live.
That's cool.
What a rock band should be.
Yeah, that's a fun time record, man. That was a fun band in general.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. I knew nothing when I first heard that, but I knew I loved it.
Yeah.
It hit me like, and anytime I put that record on when I was a kid, I'd pick up my guitar and jump all over the living room rocking out with it. And what I didn't realize, the reason I did that is because that is such a perfect live album. That is not fixed up. It's not doctored. Somebody hit a tape recorder. You go and look. You go and look at YouTube and watch them do their shows. That's how they did it. They were that good, and yeah.
I'm gonna check that. It's called Good Time Band. You said
it's called Live Full House.
Sorry, I don't know where I got that from. Live Full House. I'm gonna listen to that because I like it.
It's one of the best live rock and roll records ever. And
all right,
it's just on fire.
They're real. I really enjoyed them. They were very upbeat all the time. So it was hard to put on a Jay Giles record and like be down after that.
The problem is, you talk to anybody about them now, and they don't know really who Jay Giles is, because they think of Jay Giles being Centerfold or any of the 80s crap that they did, which I get that it buys you retirement, but I mean, there wasn't a better rock and roll band in the early 70s.
I'm going to definitely listen to that record, man. All right. Best decision you ever made?
Is Ruth in the room?
There you go. If she's in there or not, we'll sway your answer.
It would have to be. You know what? Probably best decision would be when I decided to become a musician instead of a race car driver.
That's cool, man. Tell me the most important things you've learned about yourself.
It's weird. I think I probably should have taken my career a lot more seriously in the beginning years than I did, because everything kind of just fell into my lap. I mean, like I said, when I made the Forrest Gump comment, it's funny because, like, I'll give you a for instance. My uncle is Michael Mann from Miami Vice, the producer. He married.
Oh, yeah.
He married my mom's sister. So
Okay.
I'm around stuff like that. My grandfather is John Wells, who his law firm was Rogers and Wells. He's ex-Secretary of State William Rogers, and my granddad. He's like personal lawyer to the Shah of Iran, to Bill Casey from the CIA, he's Nelson Rockefeller's bud, Mayor Lindsay's campaign manager.
Mayor
I'm
Lindsay,
around all these people when I'm a kid. Then that band, the Kids, that I started, the guitar player that came in after, right after I left Kaz, who went on to be in the Romantics, replaced me. But then Johnny Depp replaced him.
That's wild.
And the reason I say all this stuff is I come out here, the band with Alfonso breaks up. We were basically collateral damage in a big reorganization at Elektra Records. Our A&R guy got fired, and we went out the window with him. And I hadn't really done any networking out here. And so I go to Guitar Center, which is where I bought my Marshall when I got out here, and asked the guy if he knew anyone was looking for a guitar player. He goes, "Oh, you should join Quiet Riot." And I'm like, "Who?" He goes, "They're bigger than Van Halen." I go, "Well, that works for me." We literally call Rudy Sarzo up from the Guitar Center, who had just left the band to join Angel, but after him and I had talked, because he was from Florida.
Right. I had Rudy on here.
Well, he gives me Kevin's number. I call Kevin up. I bring Kevin an acetate of the record I just recorded with Alfonso. I mean, that's how old this is.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. I play him the acetate, and boom, I replace Randy Rhoads. This is what I mean about the Forrest Gump stuff. This is not by design. And at that time, Randy was, the world didn't even know who he was. He was just off recording those records. I mean, so, and then you kind of fast forward a little bit further from there. I left that situation to play with Glenn Hughes, which you would have thought was a step in the right direction, but not at that moment in time. It turned out not to be. But then I end up replacing Yngwie Malmsteen and Steeler, because a friend of mine's the drummer in that band. And again, it's being in all these situations to replace these guys who go on to become legendary is kind of weird.
It's got to be okay. So let me ask you this: what? And this is an unfair question, so you do not have to answer it, and I'll be happy to edit it out. You're like such a talented guy, and you had all these situations. In your opinion, and I hate to say, I don't subscribe to the theory of this should have happened or that should have happened, because what happens, and there's no crystal ball. But as these things were going on, did it, like, what were you thinking? Because you were like so close to the quote proverbial brass ring. I mean, like,
Yeah. Okay. I I think I did myself a little bit of a disservice by always adhering to somebody else's project. You know,
yeah,
I wish I had found the singer I was looking for and done my own band and run it the way I wanted to run it. You know, because I could come up with the
fair
reasons
enough.
why things weren't working. You know, um, I mean, I did. I had a very good band with Ralph Saenz, you know, the singer from Steel Panther. Him, myself, Sean McNabb, and Paul Monroe from XYZ had a band called 7% Solution. I mean, it should have been huge, but we put it together in '93. Guess what?
Yeah, grunge.
Nobody cared.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I hear
yeah,
that so consistently from 80s, 90s, you know, whatever the era is. Yeah, there's always a,
I mean, but this is the thing. I didn't have that at the right time.
yeah,
And so that's why it didn't happen then. And and at the time, I can look back and go, yeah, I was always kind of, I was, you know, it looked like a great decision to go from Talas to Heaven because Heaven was signed to CBS and managed by Lieber and Krebs. And Talas was basically a vehicle for Billy Sheehan.
right.
Um, it seems like a no-brainer, but then you get into Heaven and you realize that the band had all sorts of problems from their prior records that I inherited. You know, I'm not talking about financial burdens, but you know, people's agendas and
Yeah.
things that you know have nothing to do with the music we're making. And
Uh,
I only find this stuff out years later. But you know, the situation was doomed before we ever, you know,
yeah, I totally get it.
left port.
I only ask that because I've asked that about myself at a lot of points in time in my life because I've always been one of these guys, and I don't, as I've gotten older, I've realized that's a stupid thing to think. And I actually put up an article I read about this the other day on Everyone Loves Guitar Facebook. It was about uh, this feeling that you should be here and you're not fill in the blank enough, you know, thin enough, successful enough, rich enough, strong, whatever the blank is for you at any given point in time. And I've come to the conclusion that for me anyway, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But I have gone through a lot of that over my head. Why, you know, the why.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I I will tell you something, and this isn't to shamelessly promote the new record, but one thing I can tell you about doing that new record is I feel like because I wrote everything on it and I produced it, and, you know, I arranged it, and yeah, I basically
It's your baby, man. You
it's
birthed
my
it.
baby,
Yeah.
but it says everything about my music. I feel like just having it come out the way that it's come out, I've kind of attained something that I hadn't felt I had.
That's awesome. This
You
is
know,
the
I
record.
mean,
Yeah.
just on a musical level.
Yeah.
Um, and that to me, I mean, that's a huge payoff when you can, when look, we know what the music business is like, and it's not what it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
but when you can still do something and be as excited about it as I am now, that's a gift in itself.
100%. Yeah.
You know,
100%.
and like I said, I'm glad now that this is here because I can take it and show it to anyone and go, here, yeah, this is what I do. And I feel that strong about it, you know.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
I'm excited to hear it. I'm happy that I think when you do something like that, it gives you freedom, sort of. It puts any weight that you have had on your shoulders, and it takes them off, man. It's like,
no, you're spot on the money there, because
for
it
sure.
did exactly that. You know, and I didn't even expect that. You know, I wasn't looking for that when we were recording, but it's been a nice little bonus since we've been finishing up.
That's awesome, man. Tell me, who's had the biggest influence on you, musically and also personally?
Oh, musically, Pat Thrall, Edgar Winter, Gary Moore, Todd Rundgren, Prince. Yeah, I mean, you know, you listen, when I say Prince, you go, I don't hear any Prince in your music. And this is true.
No, but I'm assuming you're talking about from a writing and
Yeah,
creativity
that's
standpoint.
exactly.
Yeah.
What I love about Prince is the way he looks at a song. I mean, he makes songs. He could rip with anybody, but he creates songs.
Yeah, man, he's a great arranger.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he understands every note of everything that everybody's doing at every minute. You know, he was magic. You know, it's still to this day one of the best shows I ever saw. Do you remember there was a place called Flippers? It was a roller skating rink in LA. It was where like Cher and everybody would go to roller skate on Tuesday nights.
That's funny. You saw Prince there at Flippers.
Prince played that roller skating rink in 1980. And I mean, it was the R&B band, not the pop band.
Right.
It was, you know, and dude, they didn't get better than that.
Yeah.
You know, I have goosebumps thinking about how good that was.
That's cool. You know what's funny about Cher? She always hires guitar players that have the same look. Like I had Joel Hoekstra on the show. Oh my God. You guys could be brothers, man.
You know, the first time we met, it was the first thing we talked about is some video that somebody had put up of Joel playing at NAMM, and they called him me.
It's so funny, man. All her guitar players are like very rock looking. You guys all have the look, man. It's really, really funny.
Joel's monster. I love his guitar playing.
Yeah, really good guitar player, man. He's a New York cat.
Yeah, no, we had fun. We were on one of those Monsters of Rock cruises, and he was doing this thing in acoustic. You can call it, you know, Joel's, you know, acoustic hangover. And go do an acoustic set for an hour on the
That's
boat.
nice.
And so he says, "Hey, you want to come up and play the second half of it with me?" I go, "Yeah." And so we'll figure out what we're going to do. So I get up there. He goes, "So you want to do songs, or should we just go for it?" Me, you don't have to ask twice. Let's just go for it.
Right. I figured you'd say that.
Man, we went for a half an hour. I wish I could find a tape of what we did.
Nice.
I mean, it was a blast.
Nice. He's pretty serious about his playing, as you are.
He's brilliant.
Really, he's professional.
Of all the new guys, you know, I mean, he's as good a guitar player as anyone out there.
2 questions left, man, and thank you for all your time, Mitch. Tell me about a specific experience that changed your life or changed the way you think about things. In a lifetime filled with its experiences.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, man.
I can tell you. There's a day I quit drinking.
Good for you. How long you been sober, man?
I stopped in 2004, in May of 2004.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I I got lucky. I mean, one thing I always said is I would never, I knew enough about driving to not drink and drive. Long story short, I got very lucky in a situation coming home from a party.
Wow.
I managed to spin a car at 80 miles an hour on an on-ramp and hit
Holy
something and not be hit. So I'd say that would be your moment of clarity there.
Yeah, man, that's a moment of clarity. Holy shit. Yeah, because the universe has a way of whispering in your ear.
I looked up and said, okay, I hear you.
Right. Because if you don't listen, each successive hit over the head is louder, man, Yeah. Congratulations. That's awesome, man. Really, really cool. And last question, what's been the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years? And how much of that has been intentional and how much is a natural part of aging?
Well, I've just become a way nicer person because I have two wonderful women in my life.
Right on, man.
Hi, Ruth. Hi, Fee.
Right on. That's cool. Hey, listen, let me, first of all, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for everything. I appreciate it.
It's been a blast talking to you.
Thank you, man. Likewise. And let me just remind people what you got going on. It's Mitch Perry. Check out Mitch's website at mitchperry.com. It's Perry. Also, he's on tour with The Sweet. So when you see them coming to town, come see Mitch. And every Sunday, if you're in LA or Hermosa Beach area, he plays at Hermosa Beach at the Standing Room. And we will all look forward to Music Box, the Mitch Perry Group new record coming out in the next few months. And hopefully Mitch will come back on the show. We'll promote it and talk about it. Anything else I missed, man?
No, pretty thorough there.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And check out Mitch's guitars. God, you're a great player, but when that guitar is just the coolest guitar I've ever seen, man. It's just like so authentic, it's really cool. And like I said, it's really nice to watch you play because you could see the joy you have in playing, man. It's just really, that comes across loud, and that's not something you could fake, so thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, you're welcome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Check out Mitch Perry again on tour with Sweet in Hermosa Beach at the Standing Room, and we'll wait for the Mitch Perry Group record Music Box in the next few months. Thanks to Mitch for spending time with us. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Thank you so much, Mitch. I appreciate it, bro.
I got you.